really like the ceramics program because I think ceramics is really fun and a lot of kids really want to learn it, but like classes outside of school are really expensive and hard to get, and there's like not a ton. And I think with more money we could get like more supplies, and I know a lot of our sponges are really raggedy and leave like sponge marks in the clay, which I personally hate. So we could get new sponges and have like, better materials.
Miss Grace and Renee and everyone else is really awesome. They are really nice to me, and they're the best.
I would buy curriculum for budgeting, and then I would also love to get more student body involved through field trips, just like having a bigger peer tutor program for our kids.
If I had more money to go on field trips, it helps me get better, and it helps me become the most intelligent person on the world.
I would get a brand new industrial kitchen because I think it's important for students to be able to learn the workplace skills of a culinary industry. There's workstations, so there's a prep station, there's the fry station, there's the dishwashing station, there's a place for the dishes to go. There's not really units. It's more of one big kitchen and everyone works as a team versus each independent group working as individuals. It's a goal, it's a dream, one day.
The auditorium definitely needs an overhaul. We need lights, we need sound. That would benefit every program that comes through Highland, even Highland's rentals when they come in and pay us money. So that would help dance, that would help choir, band, orchestra, theater. We all benefit, even assemblies benefits from an overhaul in the auditorium. As far as the choir classroom goes, I would love a smart board so that I can write directly on the board for my students. And then I would also like to be able to purchase music to advance my students at any time. Our library is very outdated as far as music availability, so it'd be fun to really modernize and upkeep the library choices.
We have to pay for our own gear. Our coach and team has to pay for the balls and stuff. That is one thing that would be really nice, is our balls a lot of the time are dead because balls are expensive and they die fast, and so we kind of have to be playing with dead balls a lot, which isn't great when getting ready for matches and stuff because it's a whole different game. The reason our balls die faster is because our courts are really dirty. So if there could be a way that we could clean it every once in a while, just to help the balls and just so the surface is nicer. We don't have as many courts as other schools, so we aren't able to practice as much as them. We only have 4 courts, and we have to usually around 30 players on our team play during our matches. So the matches are really long. If we could get all of varsity on at the same time, that would be really nice. But our second doubles isn't able to start with us at the same time because they have to wait for the first open court. So it's kind of stressful for them too, just because they have to be warm all the time. But having lights would be really nice because then we could make our matches go later and we wouldn't have to start so early, so that we wouldn't have to miss school every match day. Especially our JV, who also plays every single match. This season only had 45 minutes, less than an hour practice every day. That's not enough time on the court. If we had lights, we could practice later in the night. So we could have our developmental players practice later, or anyone practice later. We just have more time for everyone to be able to be on the court.
The cost of metal right now is absolutely extreme. It has gone up 3 to 4 times the price in the last couple of years. And of course, budget money in schools tends to stay the same. So trying to produce the same amount of work with a limited amount of supplies is incredibly difficult. And industry partners don't really want to donate their scraps right now because they're so valuable to them as well. So we're just really struggling with having enough materials and supplies to get the kids through the processes that they need to do.
Our English language learners are the ones that have come here in the past 5 years normally. So they're still in our program learning how to speak English, and we're helping support them through all these programs. I have a student who's in the nursing program, and there are certain things that they need for class, and some of that's covered by a fee waiver, but they have to get their own stethoscope in order to do work in the class. So that's something that a lot of times they can't afford.
Some uniform, or because when we try track or soccer, like we need to pay. Yeah, for uniform, to buy uniform, so like they should help us with that, so we don't need to pay for that.
We have a lot of girls from Africa who've tried out for track and they want to run track, but they don't have the track shoes. And so we've had some people in the community who've actually chipped in and donated and gotten them track shoes. When they're on the soccer team, they need the shin guards and the cleats. They don't have the money to buy those, and those are expected that you're supposed to buy your own for that.
We can help to have more tutoring, to have some helper who can come help students.
We've got tutoring after school that we do, and then I actually have coordinated with Westminster College, and they come over during the day and help our level 1 and 2 students, and they break off into small groups and help them.
That money would go towards our athletes who need the extra help financially, with paying fees, with backpacks, with their uniforms, all the things that can sort of add up over the course of the year. There are enough kids, I think, in our program at all levels that it would be a huge help just to be able to make sure that everyone can participate and that we don't have kids that don't participate, which happens often because of financial reasons, hardships. But even just to have a small nest egg for future kids, that'd be great.
With video production and TV broadcasting, it's critical to have updated equipment. Technology changes so quickly in this industry that it's important that kids have their hands on things that they're actually using on set. The other thing that would be really beneficial to our program is a new lighting system in our studio. Our lights were donated by KSL 30 or 40 years ago. They run on such a high wattage that it actually blew a couple fuses last year. They ended up installing a new lighting panel, and it was still running on floppy disk. So it took a really long time to try and set up, and it turns out they had gotten it from an old elementary school. We shouldn't have to recycle old equipment, then reallocate it to our program. Also, because of large class sizes, we don't have enough computers for the students that want to take my course. They can't share computers, and some of the computers are so old, they won't update to current operating systems, so they can't run modern programs on them.
The instrumental music program really could use money to upgrade our instruments. Many of our instruments are from the 50s to 70s, and they are very outdated, and a lot of our equipment is also very expensive to replace. So any money that I could have would go towards updating equipment.
New engines for my small engines class, and new tools that aren't damaged, tweaked, or broken. That would give them the opportunity, right tools for the right job, new engines that haven't been worked on for 5-6 years where parts are bent, missing, broken, stripped.
Almost 120 kids creating three-dimensional sculptures in this room. It would be really great for 3D design to have a drying rack and flat file storage so that we could store projects and keep track of them in an easier way. Right now they're kind of just stored in a big cabinet on top of one another, and so things kind of get lost or damaged or misplaced.
So the three things that come to mind when I think about using extra funding would be: one, equipment, especially photo equipment, because we lack the necessary lenses to capture some of the events, especially at night, or the high-speed events like sports. Plus, our camera bodies are getting old, and so we need to replace some of those. Printing costs have gone up dramatically this year because so many presses have been hurting with the lack of production, with businesses being closed, and the lack of newspapers being generated these days. So we would need more money to cover our production costs if we want to continue to put out the product. And I want to create experiences for my students, field trips, going to actually see professionals in the workplace, and we don't have enough funding right now to cover all those expenses like we've been able to in the past.
Our lights are like 30 plus years old, so getting those replaced and updating them with LEDs and the newer technology that they're even using in professional theaters, I think would make a huge difference in production quality, and also getting our students experience with that kind of equipment is really going to give them a leg up and I think open a lot more doors for them as well. Wood is really expensive right now, so getting new lumber would be awesome so that we can start fresh, because a lot of the stuff we have right now is really old and rotted and there's knots and everything. So to be able to get a whole new set of lumber to build really, really safe, sturdy sets would be great. To also be able to build our costume stock would be amazing. We have some decent stuff in our costume closet, but I'd love to build a stock so that we don't have to rent things anymore. It would save us a ton of money if we could just start building that with really high quality costumes.
Having the equipment student government need to advertise school events would be a game changer, because it allows the students to focus more on the creativity and the way they will communicate with the student body at Highland, as opposed to the logistics of figuring out how to get their message out. So having, proper equipment where they can create their posters and run off copies of their information from our studio where we're working and planning will allow them to get those messages out in a more efficient way. Our primary goal this year is actually to get students to events, to have students from Highland High understand that all of these events, dances and assemblies and movie nights the kids are hosting are theirs, and that they have a space there and are welcome there, and to have the capacity to work together in a space and get that work done and produced without running around to different places to do it is huge.